Well, hello, and welcome back. I'm Claire, this is Purple Poppy, and there is no Journal Monthly today because we finished our May journal and we've got an extra week, and I'm preparing a new cover for a new journal. So I thought I might as well turn the camera on, bring you along, and you can see what I'm up to. So the first thing is, you can see when I cut the block out, I did actually cut into that spine. So I've just put a little bit of masking tape over there to seal that hole. I'm going to be painting this so that little white area is going to disappear anyway. But before I do any of that, I want to look at this front cover. Now I am going to paint it, as I say, but I'm not going to put any fabric or paper or anything like that to cover it completely, because it's got this beautiful like texture to it. I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but there's a definite weave on there. There was obviously some book fabric used to cover this book. So what I've done is I've cut out, or I've die cut, from the Tim Holtz Wildflowers, and I've cut 3 of each. Now this cover is inspired by Hither and Yon. I saw a cover that she'd done, absolutely loved it, and thought, you know what, I'm going to have a bash at that. So I've die cut out 4 different things. That one needs to come out. The die obviously didn't quite get that bit. And there we go. Right, so as I say, I've got 4 different flat wildflowers, and I have cut 3 of each. Okay, and the reason I've done that is because I want to have some depth to my die cuts. So I'm just going to quickly poke these bits out. I suppose I should have done this really before I turn the camera on, but you know me, I like you to see everything warts and all. So I've lined them up like this because this is the order that I want to put them on. How are you all? Are you happy, safe and well? I still don't understand what's going on with this weather, but anyway, it's weird. You look out the window, it's grey and winter, and yet it's warm. I'm sitting here in a sleeveless t-shirt with the window open. So I don't understand what's going on. It is what it is. Let's just leave it at that, I think. Yeah, see this one? Do you know what? I'm going to just break that one off. So that's them. They're fine. They're all fine, and they're fine. So it wasn't too much picking, was it? So the first thing I'm going to do is glue them all together to get the depth. So I'm going to be painting, so we're going to be getting messy. So if I just put this plastic bag down here for a minute, I can do my gluing and sticking over here. So then we won't have to worry too much about the desk. Although I've got to be honest and say the mat on my desk is absolutely filthy. Needs a really, really good clean. You can probably hear Boo snoring in the background, and the children are on half term, so you can probably hear them in the street. So I'm really sorry if you're getting distracted by background noise. Okay, so there's that one, and then all I'm going to do is marry them up so that they lay directly, whoops, that one's got hooked, so they lay directly on top of each other, just like so. It's quite easy to do, and of course this one is on its own because we tore one off. And of course not only am I creating depth by doing this, but I'm also making them stronger because die cuts can be a little bit flimsy sometimes, can't they? After all, it's very often a very thin piece of paper. So the smaller nozzle that you can get your hands on, obviously the better for this job. Or you could get a pool of glue on your table and just sort of drag it through. Okay, so this is obviously a little bit time consuming and maybe not the most interesting of things to watch. I don't know, maybe it is, but it's an important part of the cover that I want to do, so it's got to be done. Okay, so that's those three all stuck together. Just check the front, make sure they're lined up, and I'll pop that one down. This one's even worse, look at it. So I'm just going to do each leaf, I think. We will have to put a little bit obviously up the middle because otherwise it's not going to stick. And then once I've done all these, obviously I'm going to stick them to my cover before I think about painting it. And if you have got one or two leaves or petals, depending on what die cuts you're going to use, if you're going to make one of these, missing, it doesn't really matter, because in nature, you know, petals and leaves, they fall off, don't they? You get little bare bits and things like that. So just sort of being true to what it is, really. I don't know how many of you watch and then create your own version of what I do, or whether you just watch for pleasure. Doesn't really matter. Whatever makes you happy. Just trying to decide whether I need to gesso this before I think about painting it. Oh, see, look, all fingers and thumbs. I suppose we might actually not, because actually maybe I will, because we don't want these covers bending, do we? So if I stop for a minute and I find some gesso and I just give this a bit of a gesso, it can be drying while we are gluing. Oh look, what a lovely splatter. I've actually got some clear gesso if this is turning out to be empty, which I think it, oh, I almost want to leave it like that. Look at that. How awesome does that look? So we just get some gesso across all of this. And the fact that this gesso is thicker in places than others is obviously going to have an effect on the paint that we put on. So that's quite a good thing, I think, to be honest. So There we go. Okay, so that can be drying. Doesn't take long. Whoops. While we glue our other flowers together. See it? And they get all tangled up. And I know lots of people do their die cuts and store them, you know, ready to use. So they have a box of pre-done die cuts. But I find they get such a tangle and I get so frustrated with them. I generally end up tearing them. So now I've got to the stage where I just cut them to use. I find it's easier. But obviously to each their own. Right. So there's that one. Make sure we got it round the right way, obviously it's not going to fit. It's not going to marry up, is it? If we got it the wrong way round. There we go. That's number 3. Well, it's the second layer of the third one. Doesn't take long really. So, what have you all been up to? I suppose, I mean, it's half term, so I suppose we're sort of in holiday season, aren't we, here in the UK? Families tend to go away at half term, or if you're not going away and having sort of days out with families, either, you know, your own extended family maybe, grandparents and the like, or maybe if you're friendly with the parents of your children's friends. I know when my children were little we often had days out with, you know, their friends when there was a relationship between myself and the mother, or hubby and I knew both parents or whatever. You get involved in these extended days out, which can be a lot of fun because, oh, excuse you, hubby, which keeps, you know, the children super occupied, because obviously children keep children busy, don't they? I know yesterday my 2 daughters took the 3 grandchildren to a nearby farm where they've got like a bit of a petting section, so the children were able to play with and feed the animals. And then my youngest daughter, granddaughter, had a sleepover with her 2 cousins at my youngest daughter's house. So a lot of fun was had by all. And I did message this morning to see if anyone had had any sleep. You know, it's like when children get together. But apparently it wasn't too late. It was only about 9 o'clock, and they slept right through till just after 6. So that sounds like a pretty good amount of sleep, bearing in mind the excitement of a busy day out and a sleepover. So yeah. They've had a lot of fun, which is great. And I know the youngest 2 spent time at their other nan's. I had a sleepover at their nan's house. They've started calling us by names now to differentiate who we are. So like, I'm Nanny Claire, and their other nanny is Nanny Linda. So that's how they work out, you know, what's going on. Right, I'm just going to open up my bag so that I've got spreading room, and I'm going to try and come up here to make sure that you can see properly. Okay, now the first one is the fiddly one, isn't it? And I'm doing the front. I'm going to leave the back plain. So this one will go something like that. Then I want to have the very thin one, which will sit down like that. This one there, and they are nice and firm now. If you're used to handling die cuts, the difference is quite amazing. And then that one's going to go there, and that will make my front cover, and I think that will just be beautiful. So we'll pick this one up and do the last lot of sticking for this one. I'm sure, you know, this is nothing new. People have stuck die cuts to journal covers many times, I would have thought. I just thought it would be nice to have the, as it were, reversed embossing. So it's concave rather than convex. And then just have it all in one colour, rather than usually, you know, we put toppers and things on, don't we? I just thought it would be nicely different. Okay, so we've got this. I'm going to line it up now with that one at the bottom to make sure that it goes where I want it to go, and then just press it down. Okay, and then the next one. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, did I? Oh, well, at least I've got a starting point here. Okay. So quite a little bit of gluing, but then as journal makers we're used to that, aren't we? Spend our life gluing stuff together, ripping it apart and gluing it back together. Okay. So, whoa, no, we don't want that. I'm going to line it up at the bottom there, push it over a little bit so that that one, you know, just sits in between those two. Give it a good old press. Okay, and then we've got the next flowery one, haven't we? Very gluey fingers now, but name of the game really, isn't it? And of course I've got gesso all over them. Whoops. Okay, line that up. Get that. And you can see I'm trying to get them all so they're, you know, growing from that same point. And then this one, I'm going to try and manoeuvre so it's going to go that way and that way, if that makes sense. So that's what I like about this one. I often, whenever I use this die cut, I often bend it. I just think it lends itself to a natural bend. Don't have to, obviously, you could use it completely straight, but okay, we should be finished with our glue now. So it's going to go that way to about there, and then it's going to come back up and round there, in order to get a little bit of a curve in it and get them all from that central point there. Whoops, you can see that glue's not quite set because they are moving around a little bit. There you go, so that's what it looks like now. Now I'm going to mix some colours. This paintbrush can stay there. Sorry, coffee time. Now, obviously, anyone who's been here before will know there has to be some blue. So I've got this acrylic all-purpose royal blue. It's a dough crafts, and I've used it many times before. So you can have a good old dollop of that. And then the same brand but in sage. And we're going to have a good old dollop of that. And then I've actually got some oxide in mid lavender. And I'm not going to squirt it, I'm actually going to undo it, pour some in there. Pour quite a lot in there. Okay, so what I want to do is start with this really rich blue. But you can see it's blending in with the gesso, and we're getting, I really don't want to get it inside because I'm hoping to keep the inside papers that the book was originally made with on the inside. If I can't, I can't, but I'm hoping to. So let's move my coffee. And move you up there so you can see a bit better. Okay. Got a darker spine. Can, as it were, brush some of that away. No, don't go up there. I'm trying to keep my strokes going up and down because that is going to affect the colour changes. Right, now I'm going to be a little bit careful on here because obviously this is not completely dry. If I wasn't filming, I would wait probably 24 hours or so for this to be properly dry. So I'm just pouncing over my die cuts because that's the way I can cover the sides because of the depth, and I don't want to be too brutal with them because of that glue potentially not being completely dry. So obviously not using your best paintbrushes for this. So it's good to get messy every now and again, isn't it? Have a bit of fun and hopefully create what's in your mind. Because I don't know about you, but very often I have a vision in my mind of what I'm trying to create, and when I've finished, although I might like what I've done, it's not where I thought I was going to be going, if that makes sense. So now that I've done the pouncing, I'm just going to try and straighten out with the lines to match the other side. And you see, by spreading that paint super thin, we're getting some of that underneath gesso coming through. So it's helping to give us that very sort of aged, worn out look to it. Yeah, see, we need that glue to dry because they are starting to slightly separate. Okay, so there you go. So I've got all my blue down. Now I want to try and wash out some of that blue. I don't want it too dark, obviously. Should have bought a rag or something, but anyway. Now I'm going into the green. And you'll see, because that blue is damp, this green is going to mix with it. And it's almost acting as a white. So we can semi-dry brush now. Look at that. And now our die cuts are really coming to life. Got a fingerprint there. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera off and give this paint a chance to dry, I might even get my heat tool on it, and then I'll come back and show you what happens when I put the pink on, the milled lavender. Sorry, see, I'm still fiddling. This is what happens. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. This is basically dry now. I've had a chance to wash my hands and clean my paintbrush. Now, oops, I've just flicked it everywhere. Now we've got the milled lavender oxide spray here. The first thing I'm going to do, I'll give it a mix because the colours do tend to separate in it because it is an oxide. Okay. But the oxide, it's going to enable me to do two things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use like a bit of a sort of palette knife, and I'm just going to dip in and I'm going to work on the back, and I'm going to just scrape colour up and down like this. I want it to look, I didn't necessarily want splashes on it, but I want it to look like it's, you know, been dragged and around for ages, and it's got some dirt on it, been semi-misused, things like that. Okay, and get a little bit up the middle there, like this. Okay, now this is oxide. Now oxide, we know, doesn't necessarily dry. It stays water active for a very long time, well, technically forever. So I'm just adding these streaky bits, and I'm deliberately doing it with this palette knife because I don't want brush strokes. I want this messy look. And I'm coming over my die cuts, and that's just highlighting them again. And I'll show you in a minute why I've chosen to use the oxide rather than an ink spray. There we go. Now, it's almost like it's a, you know, a book that's been in the craft room or the art studio, and it's just got a bit messed up. Yeah. Okay, now because it's an oxide, I'll take my water spray. That oxide will lift slightly. You see? The water's reactivating it. And we're going to get this mottled effect, a bit like when I splodged the gesso all over it. And it's all going to run. And the pink has become, the pink lavender has become almost white. And now our book is now looking very grungy, which is what I want. And I'm really, really happy with that. I like how that has worked out. Right, I'm just going to fold over my bag again. Okay. I don't know why I'm bothering, because it's now going to be too small. I'm going to splatter all over my desk anyway. But I'm just going to go in with my paintbrush. I'm going to remix this milled lavender, and I'm going to give it some real splash marks. It's really been in the wars, this book. Somebody's been a bit messy in the art studio while they've been working. We do like a bit of splatter, don't we? And as you can see, it's going all over my mat. But I don't really care. And there we go. So, my art studio book. There's my cover. I'm pleased with it. I love the way the die cuts are sitting there but fading into the background. Now when that is fully dry, I will give it a couple of coats of clear gesso just to seal everything in and make sure it doesn't travel any further than it has already. So as always, a huge thank you for coming along and joining me today. I hope you found some joy and inspiration, and you'll go and have some messy playtime of your own. Stay safe. I'll see you very soon.